Saint Augustine, commentary on Psalm 116. I have loved since the Lord will hear the voice of my prayer. Verse 1. Let the soul that is sojourning in absence from the Lord sing thus. Let that sheep which had strayed sing thus. Let that son who had died and returned to life, who had been lost and was found. Luke 15. Verses 6 and 24. Let our souls sing thus, brethren, and most beloved sons. Let us be taught, and let us abide, and let us sing thus with the saints. I have loved, since the Lord will hear the voice of my prayer. Is this a reason for having loved, that the Lord will hear the voice of my prayer? And do we not rather love because he has heard, or that he may hear? What then does it mean, I have loved, since the Lord will hear? Does he, because hope is wont to inflame love, say that he has loved, since he has hoped that God will listen to the voice of his prayer? But whence has he hoped for this? Since he said, he has inclined his ear unto me, and in my days I have called upon him. Verse 2. I loved, therefore, because he will hear. He will hear because he has inclined his ear unto me. But whence do you know, O human soul, that God has inclined his ear unto you, except you say, I have believed? These three things, therefore, abide, faith, hope, charity. 1 Corinthians 13:13. Because you have believed, you have hoped. Because you have hoped, you have loved. And what are your days, since you have said, in my days I have called upon him? Are they those perchance in which the fullness of time came, and God sent his Son, who had already said, in an acceptable time have I heard you, and in a day of salvation have I helped you? Isaiah 49:8. I may rather call my days the days of my misery, the days of my mortality, the days according to Adam, full of toil and sweat, the days according to the ancient corruption, for I, lying, stuck fast in the deep mire. Psalm 69, verse 2. In another psalm also have cried out, Behold, you have made my days old. Psalm 39, verse 5. In these days of mine have I called upon you, for my days are different from the days of my Lord. I call those my days which by my own daring I have made for myself, whereby I have forsaken him. And since he reigns everywhere and is all-powerful and holds all things, I have deserved prison. That is, I have received the darkness of ignorance and the bonds of mortality. For in these days of mine, the snares of death compassed me round about, and the pains of hell gat hold upon me. Verse 3. Pains that would not have overtaken me had I not wandered from you. But now they have overtaken me, but I found them not, while I was rejoicing in the prosperity of the world, in which the snares of hell deceive the more. But after I too found trouble and heaviness, I called upon the name of the Lord. Verse 4. For trouble and profitable sorrow I did not feel, trouble wherein he gives aid, unto whom it is said, O be you our help in trouble, and vain is the help of man. Psalm 40, verse 11. For I thought I might rejoice and exult in the vain help of man, but when I had heard from my Lord, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Matthew 5:4. I did not wait until I should lose those temporal blessings in which I rejoiced, and should then mourn, but I gave heed to that very misery of mine, which caused me to rejoice in such things, which I both feared to lose, and yet could not retain. I gave heed to it firmly and courageously, and I saw that I was not only agonized by the adversities of this world, but even bound by its good fortune. And thus I found the trouble and heaviness which had escaped me, and called upon the name of the Lord. O Lord, I beseech you, deliver my soul. Let then the holy people of God say, I called upon the name of the Lord, and let the reminder of the heathen hear, who do not as yet call upon the name of the Lord. Let them hear and seek, that they may discover trouble and heaviness, and may call upon the name of the Lord and be saved. Gracious is the Lord and righteous, He our God is merciful. Verse 5. He is gracious, righteous, and merciful. Gracious in the first place, because He has inclined His ear unto me, and I knew not that the ear of God had approached my lips, till I was aroused by those beautiful feet, that I might call upon the Lord's name. For who has called upon Him, save he whom He first called? Hence, therefore, He is, in the first place, gracious, but righteous, because He scourges, and again merciful, because He receives, for He scourges every son whom He receives. Nor ought it to be so better to me that He scourges, as sweet that He receives. For how should not the Lord, who keeps little ones, verse 6, scourge those whom, when of mature age, He seeks to be heirs? For what son is he whom the Father chastens not? Hebrew chapter 12, verse 6 and 7. I was in misery, and He helped me. He helped me because I was in misery, for the pain which the physician causes by his knife is not penal, but salutary. Turn again then unto your rest, O my soul, for the Lord has done good to you. Verse 7. Not for your deservings or through your strength, but because the Lord has done good to you, since He says, He has delivered my soul from death. Verse 8. It is wonderful, most beloved brethren, that after He had said that His soul should turn unto rest, since the Lord had rewarded Him, He added, since He has delivered my soul from death. Did it turn unto rest because it was delivered from death? Is not rest more usually said of death? What is the action of him whose life is rest and death disquietude? Such then ought to be the action of the soul as may tend to a quiet security, not one that may increase restless toil. Since He has delivered it from death, who pitying it said, Come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11, verses 28 to 30. Meek, therefore, and humble, following, so to speak, Christ as its path, should the action of the soul be that tends towards repose, nevertheless not slothful and supine, that it may finish its course, as it is written, in quietness make perfect your works. Ecclesiasticus 3:19. You have delivered my soul from death, mine eyes from tears, and my feet from falling. Whoever feels the chain of this flesh chains these things as fulfilled in hope towards himself. For it is truly said, I was in misery, and he delivered me. But the Apostle says this also truly, that we are saved by hope. Romans 8:24. And that we are delivered from death is well said to be already fulfilled, so that we may understand the death of unbelievers, of whom he says, leave the dead to bury their dead. Matthew 8:22. He will then clear our eyes of tears when he shall save our feet from falling. For there will then be no slipping of our feet as they walk, when there will be no sliding of the weak flesh. But now whoever firm our path, which is Christ, be, yet since we place flesh, which we are enjoined to subdue, beneath us, in the very work of chastening and subduing it, it is a great thing not to fall. But not to slip in the flesh, who can attain? I shall please in the sight of the Lord in the land of the living. Verse 9. We labor indeed now because we are awaiting the redemption of our body. Romans 8:23. But when death shall have been swallowed up in victory, and this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal immortality. 1 Corinthians 15, verses 53 and 54. Then there will be no weeping, because there will be no falling, and no falling because no corruption. And therefore we shall then no longer labor to please, but we shall be entirely pleasing in the sight of the Lord in the land of the living.